So smoke today in Melbourne is in the very poor to hazardous range. When you get to the hazardous range, really anyone can develop symptoms. There's eye and throat and nose irritation. People can have a cough develop or worsening of cough or even wheeze. Really the vulnerable groups that we're most concerned about are children 14 and younger, people 65 years and older, and those with pre-existing medical conditions, heart disease, lung disease, or even diabetes. Those individuals need to make sure that they have a plan in place to look after their health. They might need to check in with their GP. They can call Nurse on Call at any time. Obviously, if they're in real strife, they need to see their GP or call 000. Pregnant women are also in that group of vulnerable people. But when you get to that hazardous range and the Vic Emergency site has details on the actions that you should take, as well as the AirWatch app by EPA, where you can plug in your postcode and find out what the conditions are hour by hour nearest to your location. That's the best way to monitor how the levels are going and the things that you need to do. Melbourne is different from East Gippsland and the northeast of Victoria, which have really had many, many days in the very poor to hazardous range. We will get respite over coming days. It's probably going to be, however, in the very poor range up to hazardous until late in the week, but it will improve over time. When conditions are good or good to moderate air quality, that's the time to open doors and windows, to air your house, to get the smoke out. And then when the air quality is poor, close doors and windows, stay inside, minimise your activity, try not to be engaged in outdoor activities if you can.
Is it true that we have the worst air quality in the world today?
I think overnight for Melbourne it did reach the worst in the world. Those conditions overnight are obviously when there are cooler temperatures and the particulate matter can settle very low to the ground. It will improve through the course of today, I'm told by the Chief Environmental Scientist. So with warmer temperatures that particulate matter will lift. But yes, it has been very, very poor in Melbourne overnight.
Is there a particular day later in the week that we really see that change come through?
I think we're all hoping for a change in fire activity with some of the rains that are coming through and the milder weather, but it's obviously very dependent on fire activity. So if the lines of control on the fire ground can mean that we don't have significant runs of fire, then we're obviously going to have less smoke generated. But hopefully with some rain, some decreased fire activity and some more southerly winds, we can be better off.
Premier, you talked about the review and necessarily not using a Royal Commission. Have you spoken directly to the Prime Minister about that?
I have. I had a conversation just a couple of days ago with the Prime Minister about a couple of different things. One of them was the Royal Commission. This is Sunday morning, I think it was. And he's still working through exactly what sort of inquiry he prefers. And he's got to go through his own cabinet process, and he was clear with me about that. He'll work through those issues. It's unclear to me. There's not a criticism, it's just that I don't think it's been settled yet, whether this would be an inquiry into how the national effort can be as best coordinated as possible, or whether it's an inquiry into the event more broadly. I made it clear to him that IGEM was the way we were going to go forward, and as Lisa has said, Tony's got a wealth of experience over many decades, but most recently he's had a very close look at a couple of very significant fires. One that started as a planned burn, and of course White River being the other example, Hazelwood, the list goes on. I think thunderstorm asthma as well, he had a very close look into that as well. So he's got the experience and the understanding and the status, if you like, in our emergency services system to be the right person for this. It's unclear to me, again, I'm not making a criticism, I don't think it's been settled exactly what a federal inquiry will look at. But I have a commitment from the Prime Minister for further consultation and trying to work together as best we can on that.
Have you discussed with him the need for deeper climate change action?
The Prime Minister and I have not had a climate change discussion. He knows my views on those matters very well. We are proud to say we have the most comprehensive and aggressive renewable energy agenda, and we do that for a number of reasons. One is the planet. The other one, of course, is more supply means more downward pressure on prices, and that's better for households and businesses. We're not putting 750,000 rooftop solar units in for fun or because it's some sort of ideological thing. We're doing it because it's the only way forward to guarantee that we've got the energy security and the price stability that every household needs. And then there's just the small matter of us playing our part to make sure our planet is as healthy and sustainable as it possibly can be. We take those responsibilities very seriously, Rich, and we have a track record that I think proves that.
Given the number of events have been cancelled because of the fires and from smoke, are you concerned about a mounting kind of social and economic cost from these fires?
Oh, there's no doubt that there'll be a very significant economic cost. This is why we run surplus budgets, not just because of the need to have a buffer to draw down on to help with relief and recovery and to replace equipment that's been damaged and all those sort of practical things. There's also a buffer against uncertain times, and there's no question that the Victorian economy and the Australian economy will take a hit because of less consumer spending, less tourism, all of those other things on top of the direct cost of making good after these fires as well. So that's why I'd say to people, I know it's very inconvenient, but if you can perhaps if you can reschedule your holiday or defer your holiday to one of these communities instead of cancelling it, that's a great thing for the state and for those tourism operators. If you can be aware of your circumstances, it may be that a community that's not directly impacted, it's still safe to go there and to spend your hard-earned money and support that local community. Getting the best information is how to make the best decisions. We've made that point many, many times. But there's going to be a significant economic cost, a significant social cost, and then there'll be the direct budget cost of fixing all the damage and trying to help communities rebuild. And then there's the particularly challenging emotional, mental health cost that comes from such a traumatic event. And that's why the Prime Minister's announcements the other day were welcomed by us, and it's why we've put case managers in to support every single person who's been touched by an unprecedented level of fire activity so early on in our fire season.
Beyond grants for businesses in bushfire-affected areas, do you have any plans for any ongoing support for tourism operators, businesses that are dependent on tourists?
Martin Bakula, who's the Tourism Minister, has been having discussions with a lot of the peak bodies and individual businesses, large and small, and we'll have more to say about a tourism package soon. I know the Prime Minister's having a roundtable today in relation to small business. He's made it clear that some of that income support, some of those other kind of Centrelink, using that as a platform to provide support to businesses that are doing it very tough, that's a priority for him. We'll work and try and be as coordinated as we can. But tourism, I've been to enough of these communities now to see literally there's no one in these towns. There are no customers, or very, very few, and this should be the busiest time for so many, particularly the coastal communities, but up in the alpine areas too. They're not going to be. It's going to take some time for them to be able to recover, and we'll have to stand with them, and we will.